Ladies and gentlemen, in this video, I will be exposing one of the biggest content creators currently on the YouTube platform and telling you all about his secret. And that person is Sambucha. You might have heard of him. Some of you might watch a lot of his videos, or you might have never heard of him. Regardless, the time of recording this, Sambucha is almost at 10 million subscribers, very close to getting the diamond play button, and has over 15 billion views. Also a really nice guy, side note. I met him in person. But Sam has a really strong addiction to the game of chess, an affinity and an addiction to it. And recently, I was fortunate enough to work a little bit with him. He played in the PogChamps tournament on chess.com, PogChamps 6, the 6th edition, which, if you're watching this as a general viewer of YouTube and not a chess fan, you might have heard of because of the Dr. Lupo cheating controversy and the subsequent, removal from the tournament and so on, which was a very unfortunate storyline. But Sambucha is a full-on chess protege. And in this video, I will analyze 2 games that he played. So if you're watching this as a chess fan, enjoy. You will learn a lot, and this is an awesome underdog story, and I hope Sam keeps playing chess. And if you're watching this just from the YouTube algorithm, get into chess, because it's awesome. And it will stimulate your brain. And maybe other parts of you. I don't know if you're like that, but it's very helpful for keeping your mind sharp, and also makes you look very impressive and very intelligent. So get into chess, watch some Gotham content, and so on and so forth. Side note: my European tour starts in just a few days here, 5 days. Still haven't gotten a ticket. They're almost gone for a few of the venues, specifically Brussels and Munich. And the guest list is great. Link is in the description. See you soon. Okay, the 2 games that I'm going to show you are Sam versus Inoxtag, who is a French YouTuber, and the eventual champion, Ebere Eze, who plays in the Premier League, a Premier League footballer who won the entire edition of PogChamps. And this was a crazy upset because Sam was a near 500-point underdog. He was also almost just straight up winning this entire match at some point. And he did beat Inoxtag. So, e4, and almost ironically, black plays e6. This is the French defense played by a guy from France. There you go. Inoxtag also organized a big chess YouTube video a little while ago, which was very popular. D4, D5. Now, if you have never played against the French before, by the way, good protocol for all beginner and intermediates watching. If you can put 2 pawns in the center during your opening because nobody's attacking them, it's a good protocol to do so. Pawn to D5. Up until you're like 2000, up until you're a very advanced player, usually the best thing to do when your pawns are challenged like this in the French or the Caro-Kann is to push. Practically speaking, it is very difficult for the person playing on the other side to deal with a space disadvantage. It's difficult for black to develop the bishop. It's difficult for black to develop the knight. There is absolutely nothing wrong with the move knight c3, but there is something wrong with the next move, which is pawn to c5. Now white can begin chopping down the center and using the queen and the knight together to put pressure on black's position, but Sambucha goes bishop to e3. The computer considers this a mistake because it doesn't like that white has to occupy the center with the bishop, and black gets a very natural developing square with the knight. It's too high level for this, but that's actually exactly what happens in the game. And now is white's next moment. White should probably just take, so that black has to take with the pawn, close the queen, and then white can develop the knight here, develop the bishop there or there, castle the king, etc. Instead, Sam goes here, which is fine, but the problem is that now after black takes, black's queen will see the bishop, and black will have a decent position. But then something completely insane happens. And I was actually ready for this when I was looking through some of Inoxtag's chess games. He frequently blunders the pawn on g7 somehow. Like I saw it in some of his games, and here, black should probably develop the knight or just take the bishop. There's just good rule of thumb, folks. If you can trade a knight for a bishop in the opening, like 7 out of 10 times it's going to be the right decision. Bishops are powerful. They're long-range pieces. It's just a good move. So just play knight takes bishop. But this is crazy. And as early as move 7 in this game, Sam is just straight up winning because he's going to take the pawn and then he's going to take the rook, and there's absolutely nothing black can do about it. Like, a good rule of thumb sometimes in positions like this is you can save the rook by going bishop f6, and after bishop takes rook, you have bishop takes bishop. But this doesn't work at all right now, because white would take the bishop, and then white would take like this, and then white would take everything. White is just totally winning, just a full-on vacuum cleaner performance. But Sam doesn't see that. He doesn't see bishop takes g7. Always, always, always keep an eye on how your pieces can move forward into your opponent's position. He plays bishop b5. He was just trying to develop. Bishop b5 is not a terrible move, but in this case, it low-key becomes one because you miss bishop takes g7. Then I couldn't believe my eyes because Inoxtag did it again. And I was like, oh my. What? And, you know, when people watch videos like this, like, what? I'm 1064. Like, the people I play are like 500. They never make blunders like this. But no, it totally happens. And yeah, again, bishop g7 lights out. You know, black is on the ropes. But obviously, you should also castle. Now, I just said something. I said, trading a knight for a bishop 7 out of 10 times is a good thing. But just recreationally giving up the bishop for the knight like this, I would not recommend it. This is definitely not good. Black now just has a very good bishop. But for a third move in a row, this is possible. The only difference is that now you would be losing the knight, but it doesn't really matter because you would be getting a pawn and a rook. So 3 moves in a row, just straight up out of the opening, Sam was winning this game. I remember I was watching these games. I think I was in a taxi to a restaurant, and I was losing my mind in the taxi because I was like, Sam, I really wanted Sam to win because I was really motivating him for these 3 games. I was like, dude, you can easily pull this off. This is not a bad move. Queen e2, defending the knight, and now I would castle this way with my king. It's normally good, you know, if you're watching this as a beginner, it's normally good to castle kingside, but actually castling queenside is also very reasonable and can lead to some good attacking positions. This is still up there, and now Inoxtag plays the move knight to f6, and he is keeping an eye on the center. If you're playing with white here, probably just take again, probably castle and call it a day. That is exactly what happens, but rather than calling it a day with the move long castle, Sam plays knight e5. Now, on the surface, this move is blundering a pawn. The problem with the move bishop takes g2 for black is black's king is in the center. And you would think if you're playing black, well, this is great. I attack the rook has to move, and then I just come back and I'm up a pawn. No. Rule of thumb for anybody watching this, beginners and intermediate players, when there is a king on the other side of the board, always look for checks. If the king is in the center on the other side of the board, and it's not the opening, we're 10, 15 moves into the game, all of a sudden, black is in a lot of trouble. Black is almost losing. This runs into checkmate. This runs into a knight and king fork, queen and king fork. So black is in a lot of trouble here. This causes all sorts of other problems because now you're forked. You got to go here. I play queen here. Your king has to come out. You're just lost. So bishop g2 would be a mistake because your king is still in the middle, which is why it's impressive Inoxtag goes here. And after this, we just have a very solid and easy game. I would probably long castle here or play pawn to c3. Sam goes here. That blunders a pawn. Queen takes b2 is just a clean pawn. Always draw lines with your opponent's pieces. Look at how they can enter your position. In this particular case, the queen b2 was there. But after b3 and c4, we just have a very chill position. This is just a totally equal game. Totally equal game. And, you know, with white, what you do here is you try to put the rook on the open file. You try to put the rooks where they're most active, which would be D and E, sorry. You could make a getaway for your king to make sure you're never back rank checkmated. Don't push the pawns too far. And then you start targeting your opponent's weaknesses. You start playing queen e4, queen e3. You start, doing something like this. Higher level analysis of this position is this is a 3-on-2. That is called a queenside majority. You don't have to put that into your, hinge profile to be a potential partner for people that what that means. It's just a good rule of advanced chess. But what that really means is that when this simplifies down, 3 minus 2 is 1, and then even with American level math we can figure that out, and then you promote one of these pawns in the long run in the end game, maybe. I love how Sam is playing this. Rook a8 is a bit passive for my taste. That's not a good move. Trading the queens here, damaging your pawn structure voluntarily. Don't do it. This is not any good. But the position is still equal. And then black should use the weak pawns to trade to get into the position. But this game has a really wild ending. Oh, another terrible, terrible decision here. Objectively, do not surrender control of the file. Look how the evaluation goes from equal to, well, okay, it's only minus 0.2, minus 0.19 according to the computer, of 0.16. That's because Stockfish is like, well, I can draw this with, with ease. But yeah, if you're not careful, I mean, if you play really passively as white, playing like this, you could get into trouble very quickly. Look, minus 0.8, and then before you know it, you could just be losing. You could really be losing. So -1 now. So do not give up control of a straight line like this. But it doesn't even matter because Sam clutches this game, breaks through on that side of the board, pushes. And black should have went behind the pawn because if you don't, rook a4, he does go behind the pawn, but Sam clutch. And here in Oxtag, I think he lost focus somewhere here. Yeah, he played rook takes f3. He completely forgot about this. And now anywhere the rook moves, you promote, but he messes up in a way where he can't even give away the rook for the pawn now. And now it's just a free queen. Sam just has to not blunder anything. He keeps checking. And, okay, queen e4 there was just, and there it is. And now you have to find a checkmate. You just need to make sure black can always make moves so it's not a stalemate. Queen h5 was mate. There was a lot of mates here. We had queen h1 mate, but you keep giving checks, and this just happens to be mate. The crazy thing is that Sam won this game, and he was like a 350 point, I think, before this game was played, underdog. And then he did it again. This was unbelievable. When I was watching this game, I was watching it like I said, I was watching it on my phone. I was in a taxi, and I was so hyped. I was showing like the end of the game to my wife. I was like, oh, like he has this move. I'm not sure he's gonna play it. Like I think he has this plan, and then he was just playing what I was saying out loud. That was like. I should be careful with my words in this tournament, all right? There have already been instances of fair play violations, but I was just sitting in the car telling my wife, like, oh, he has this maneuver, and then he would play it. He was so clutch this game, and Ebere ultimately won the entire tournament. So to beat the champion and almost beat him in a full-on 2 out of 3 was crazy. So before the game, I thought white would play the London. Ebere likes to play the London, but he had been playing the King's Indian attack, and I just told Sam, like, look, take the center, and play your setup, and he kind of did that. Like, he played like this, which is close to what I told him to play, and I was very impressed. And then here I was also very impressed. Like, it's very easy for a beginner here to just, like, forget the prep and, like, blunder a fork, right? And white's playing the King's Indian attack. And he matched the energy in the center of the board. He just took the center because in this type of a setup, white is giving up the center. He's trying to fight back for the center at a little bit of a later time. Now, these positions are easy to play in a setup way. Like, Ebere plays this setup with both colors. He plays it with white and he plays it with black. Literally, by the way, he plays the exact same setup with both colors, which is very helpful for his positional understanding. But sometimes when you don't have a huge amount of experience in a position, like, look, Sam goes here, his opponent goes here, this is a very closed and sort of boring position, you don't implement the plan successfully. Like right now, the best play for Ebere is to open up the position and to go after this pawn, which black has not defended sufficiently. He doesn't do that, he goes backwards. He does that because he's trying to activate the bishop, but now Sam has an opportunity to close the center or simply develop and defend his position. Sam goes queen c8, which is not a bad move for a 700. Look at this. Look at that board vision. Bishop to h3. Now g4. This is not really the right strategy in this kind of a setup. But white is not making any serious blunders. He's taking space. Maybe he wants to create an attack. And again, in a position where you have many different options, you can make 1 move, 2 moves, 3 moves, 4 moves, like 7, 8 moves without changing the evaluation significantly. Bishop e6 it's a great move. He just defends the center, right? And now we have this, knight back to f1. He's trying to, wrap the pieces this way. Typical idea in these kinds of positions, bishop to g5 is possible. You'll see the computer is always recommending to take, And the reason for this is now white's position is completely frozen. This bishop can't get activated, the rook doesn't have anything, and black is just chilling. I mean, black is going to finish the development, put the queen, put the rooks, and not really have any problems. You really don't want to allow white to shred open the position, because that is when he's going to be able to use the bishop and the rook and the knights. And Sam goes c5, which is a mistake. But I mean, he's just trying to, finish up his development. White now has a ridiculous move, which is pawn to f4, but white has also not a ridiculous move, which is bishop to g5, right? Trying to get rid of the knight, which is stabilizing the center. Instead, he goes c3, which is a slow move. Computer is hating on both players here, but it's all relatively normal. Now, black should finish the development. I would sort of follow up with c5 and knight c6, but it doesn't quite work. But knight d7 is completely fine. And now Ebere should have played g5, and I really feel like if he did, he would have won this game in the next, 10 moves. And this is why, good rule of thumb, don't let two pawns stare at each other in the center for too long. Just don't do this. Clarify the position. Either white should have clarified, or in this case, because black is really the one under danger, black should have clarified. He should have taken or played d4. I don't even care if you play d4 in this position, because after this trade, at least there's no more danger. Like, you're not in the middle of a fork. So don't let pawns in the center have a staring contest. It won't end well. But in this game, he actually gets forced into playing this d4, and then after pawn takes, Sam takes with the pawn, Ebere plays here, and the easy move here that you play with black, the easy move, not the best move, but the move, that you play is you just take the knight, because you're like, whoa, scary knight, don't like it. And now a very big question. Which pawn should white take back with, right? So if you're, this is like now an intermediate question. If you're an aspiring player, you want to get to 1200, 1300, 1400, because you think it's going to, make you more dateable or make you seem like the smartest person in school or at your job. Like, which pawn should you be taking this bishop with? And the answer is with the e-pawn. Why? Because you open up the bishop, because you open up the rook to target the pawn, really because you open up the bishop. I mean, this is a monster diagonal, but also the attack continues for white. The pawns now just come in together, right? Many benefits to the move pawn takes f5. Ebere plays g takes f5, and he played this move very, very fast. He played it in 9 seconds. It's not like a huge mistake. I mean, at this level, the position is not better for black, but now white is going to really struggle, and you're about to watch. He really did struggle. Bishop b4 is a nice move. Rook f1, a bit passive, but maybe he's trying to, get another pawn in the game. And this is a very closed and locked position, so the way I would play this, I would bring the queen up, and then I would bring my rook to the c8 square, and then I would try to infiltrate into my opponent's territory. Ultimately, that's what chess is all about. And you need to identify a target in the opponent's position that you would attack, and the answer is probably this pawn. Like, knight on c5 somehow, maybe the queen on b5 or a6. Like, we need to get to that pawn. Maybe we need to trade the queen in order to do this. Knight b6 is not a bad move. It doesn't blunder anything, so I'm happy about it. But there is no plan beyond that. Now you have to bring the bishop back. Thank God you did not go bishop to a5, because then b4 would trap the bishop. Be careful leaving your pieces like that. Ebere plays knight g4. Now, as black here, I would not recommend getting taken and opening up your king. This is not an unreasonable move, although it greatly improves white's position, right? Either with pawn takes or even queen takes. So I really like this move by black. Queen to d8, and Ebere just takes, and this trade only benefits black, right? White got rid of the knight, so made the king more vulnerable, because the knight is no longer near the king. And also, black got the queen back in the game, right? So black now can have a very active queen, and then put the rook down that way, right? The rook should go to the open file. We saw that in the last game. Here, you ask yourself, does this move have a threat? And the answer is yes, bishop g5. Easy to miss. So I would just play pawn to h6 here. That's not the best move. Not the best move. It's not a humongous mistake, but the way you prevent mistakes like this is you ask yourself, are all the pawns near my king on the same color? That might be dangerous. Is my bishop of the opposite color, that therefore playing the defense? Not really. Not really. This is a very dangerous move. White can play here, and before you know it, this is the position. And this is very, very miserable, right? Now, Ebere plays here, which is, which allows Sambucha now to create some counterplay. And I remember watching this, and I was just losing my mind. So what you're about to witness is like the ultimate clutch form of advanced beginner chess. This guy is 700. Watch this game. He plays rook c8. Now, he's worse. You know, white does have an advantage. He has to capitalize that advantage according to the computer by generating an attack. But he plays f4. And you have to be careful with moves like this because it can actually give your opponent more counterplay. Rook c5 is crazy, just a solid defensive move. b4, now the rook should go into the white position. Never, and I really do mean never, ever, 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 move your rook to a square. It no longer has a square. Do not meet a pawn head-on when you have a rook. A defended pawn like this. Almost never the right thing. Rooks need active space, all right? They want to be free-range chickens. Put that rook on the second rank. Not even free-range, pasture-raised, like whatever. It's all a marketing gimmick in America anyway. I don't think Europe has this like stuff, which is where I am now. But pasture-raised right here. Bring the bad boy down. Rook b5, not about it. You know, now white can start ripping open the position. Pawn takes and pawn takes. But he still plays it a little bit slowly. And, you know, the trade of the queens wasn't it. And Sam is back in the game. This is a 700 versus an experienced 1200 rated player. Rook to f1. You got to take this pawn, Sam. You have to. He still doesn't. Knight b2 doesn't actually have any threat. Everything is protected. White is now winning if he just crashes down the side of the board, and he does that. Black plays a5. So Sam just getting wild with it, you know, putting pressure over here, but totally ignoring what's going on this side of the board. But f6 is a mistake. White should have just knocked over the position. Pawn takes g6, rook over there. But by playing this move, pawn takes, suddenly it's not so simple. You invested in this pawn. White plays bishop h6. You play rook f7. Great move, blocking everything. Rook to g3. You defend it with the king, and the bishop goes back. And now, white can't get through. Not only can white not get through, Sam won a pawn on the other side of the board, and he only has a minute and 45 seconds. Bishop h3, rook c6, and Ebere blunders. He had a very clear plan. He was trying to remove the rook so he could promote the pawn. And when I saw Sam take this, I was losing my mind. I had my phone in my hand in the taxi, and I was like, oh, this is still not easy. He's winning, but it's not easy. He has to be so careful. He can't move this rook anywhere. White is going to push. He needs to bring these pieces back, and then he needs to push this pawn. He needs to realize white has no way into his position. None. He just needs to not panic. When I saw this, I was like, okay, let's bring the knight back. Let's defend this. Let's figure something out. Bishop a3, I wouldn't have gone there. Rook c2, trade the rook. Offer a rook trade. Okay. He doesn't offer a rook trade, which allows an infiltration, but even with the infiltration, there's nothing. There's nothing. Rook to a2. Now, when he did this, I was feeling so good. I was like, he set up a brick wall. He's just protecting his king. You can't get in. There's a force field. White goes rook here. I was like, wait, Sam can go here and here. Is he going to see that? He went knight c3. I held my breath. I was like, oh my God, he has a minute on the clock. Oh my goodness. My protege. Is he going to pull this off? Rook to a7, and I was like, and he checked, and he took the rook, and then I sat there and was like, there is no way that this man is going to play rook to a6. This pawn is not hanging. The rook only has access to the a file. Rook a6 is game over because you trade the rooks. And I remember I showed the phone to my wife. I was like, rook to a6 and the game is over. And this lunatic took 14 seconds and played rook to a6. And the game is just over now. White only has a bishop and 4 pawns. I don't care if you're 1150. I don't even care if white is Magnus Carlsen. Magnus Carlsen can't win this position with white, all right? He can't move anything. He literally cannot move a single pawn. All black has to do is go here. I would be willing to bet Sam could beat Magnus from this position, all right? That might be insulting if Magnus ever watches this video. Nobody show him that, all right? But this is not winnable. You can't do anything. You physically cannot move any pawns for white. I don't care if you're Magnus, all right? Nobody checked the grappling. Maybe he's just going to take him down and submit him. But by the way, rook takes pawn here. But here, rook b5, he gets rid of the bishop. This is the only time you could do so. I was like, oh my God. Oh God. Oh no. And he brought the rook back. Game over. Nothing can move forward. These pawns can't move. White ran the king. Now the endgame technique here was a little bit suspicious. Rook b2 is just straight up mate. Queen a2 and rook b1 is just mate. You don't have to take the queen. It could have actually been stalemate. Now the king gets out. Now, the way you win this position is don't let the king run into the middle. Don't give a check. Don't let the king run away. But Ebere resigned. Ebere probably should have just played on because there's a chance he gets stalemated, but he resigned. He was a good sport. And he ended up clutching the match back 2-1, but those games were so back and forth. I was so impressed. Yeah, now you know that maybe your, favorite YouTuber, or second favorite to me, is a chess protege, So I hope Sam keeps playing, and maybe we'll make some chess content in the future, but ridiculous performance by him. He won 3 matchups against lower-rated players in the group stage. He beat Inoxtag as well, and he almost beat Ebere. He beat him 1 out of 3. He lost in the championship bracket against Sapnap, but Sapnap also made it to the final. So very impressed, only 700, but pulled off some great wins. And PogChamps is always fun. It's in this, this edition was obviously controversial, and that was very unfortunate. But maybe there will be a 7th edition. Maybe not. But that's all I have for you today. Hopefully you learned something. Get a ticket to the European tour if you still haven't. I mean, it's starting pretty soon, so at this point I'm probably only pitching it to the locals. The guest lineup is Anna Kramling and Julien Song, French content creator, the best French chess content creator, the #1 chess content creator in the French language. He's going to be in the Brussels show, as well as my wife. She will join as well. It's going to be a stacked house. There's like 50 tickets left maybe for Brussels, if even. So, and Brussels is a great city. Delirium, what more do I have to say? Fantastic beer. London is going to be epic. Danny Wrench and Frank, the one and only. In Vienna, we have Alessia Santaramo, content creator. Felix Bloberger, who's an Austrian grandmaster. In Berlin, we have Judith Polgar, the GWOAT. We have, I think Berlin is Munich is first. We have the Big Greek, and then in Munich, we have Nicholas Huschenbeth. We have the Svane brothers. And in Warsaw, we have Bartosz, who, if you don't know, you should. And we also have David Cherv will be there, and that will be fun. So, see you on the tour, and I will keep making videos. I'm enjoying Spain a lot, and if anybody from the Spanish government is watching this video for some reason, please give me a visa. I might move here someday. So, there you go. Video is now over. Get out of here.